When I was a newly ordained priest, on top of my parish duties, I was also given the assignment as a prison chaplain at the Toronto East Detention Centre. It was an eye-opening experience for me when I was a seminarian, and as a priest, I wanted to offer the prisoners the sacraments, both reconciliation and Eucharist, something they desired and weren't able to access on a frequent basis. There were a lot of edifying moments in this ministry, but one negative one that really stood out. It was November 11th, which is also a stat holiday, and the security at the prison was on a skeleton shift. Once I got past the security gate, which in itself is a hassle, I get to the chapel and find out from the Legion of Mary volunteers that the office where all the sacred vessels are kept was locked, and no security guard had the keys to get in. I was frustrated, I was angry, and I was wondering why this was happening. At a certain point, I remember saying, why did I waste my time coming here if I cannot offer them Mass? Since I was there anyways, I forced a smile and just chatted with the inmates. They had some good questions about life and scripture, and I walked away hoping I gave them a decent response without sounding annoyed or angry or frustrated. After complaining all the way in the car ride back to my parish assignment in Pickering about having just wasted my afternoon, I began my pre-dinner spiritual reading and read. A selfish person would look down on such activities as a waste of time, but we know that selfless acts of charity can win us entry to heaven. Needless to say, I felt greatly accused and convicted, like spending an afternoon with the inmates at prison was a waste of time. And after further reflection, saw the good of me just being there with them and answering their questions, a corporal work of mercy. If we have the mindset of selfless sacrificial giving of ourselves in service to God and our neighbor, then nothing can really be a waste of time. Sometimes to justify our selfishness, we say, well, I have my own life to live. Or as some people like to say, ain't nobody got time for that. But truth be told, we do not have our own life to live, because we have to live it with everyone else in relationship. This is why God created the human person, to know him, to love him, and to serve him in this world. If we know who God is, then it is easy to love him. And when God is loved, then it is easy to serve him. And God shows us time and time again in Scripture that love and service of God is inseparable from love and service of our neighbor. We live a life in relationship. The reason why we are called to serve him in this world is so that we can be with him in heaven for all eternity. Life is short, and our death is always before us. As St. Paul teaches, it will come like a thief in the night. Following death is judgment, where we will have to give an accounting of how we have lived our life. Understanding this reality hopefully calls us to conversion, to a deeper love of God and neighbor shown in humble service. The parable from the gospel teaches us that it does not matter how much we have been given, so long as we are putting what we have received into good use to build up God's kingdom here on earth. A funny anecdote that I read from the Venerable Archbishop Fulton Sheen helps shed light on the mystery being revealed in the parable of the talents. He writes, a wealthy and socially important woman went to heaven. St. Peter pointed to a beautiful mansion and said, this is going to be your chauffeur's home. Well, said she, if that is his home, think what mine will be like. Pointing to a tiny cottage, St. Peter said, there is yours." "I can't live in that," she answered. And St. Peter said, "I'm sorry, that is the best I could do with the material you sent me." We can ask ourselves today, what has God given me that I can use in humble service to build up his kingdom? Is selfish thinking, which comes from fear and laziness, stifling me from selfless sacrificial giving in love of God and my neighbor? In the holy sacrifice of the Mass today, ask God for the grace and strength to serve him with diligence and with love, so that when we come to our Master at our judgment, we may hear those precious words, "Well done, good and faithful steward. Enter into the joy of your Master."